Chapter 50-57, The Celestial Master's Mansion with Buttface's Help. Yun Chujio recognized the 3 words on the plaque. The Celestial Master's Mansion. Yun Chujio burst into laughter. The Celestial Master's Mansion? There are so-called Celestial Masters in this supreme land? The small silver snake in Yun Chujio's sleeve suddenly struggled. Yun Chujio walked to the side and picked up the small silver snake. Little White, Hei Shinjio saw Di Baiming's deep gaze and laughed dryly. Prince Charming, what are your orders? Di Baiming snorted coldly. I heard from Buttface that you once found a pair of grandfathers and grandsons who were both spirit masters Yen, right? Previously on Mount Meru, Yun Chujio had been struck by lightning. Buttface had told Di Baiming many things about Yun Chujio, and this was one of them. Yun Chujio nodded. That's right. One is Zi Heng's younger brother, and the other is Zi Heng's grandfather. Why do you suddenly think of them? I vaguely remember that although the Spirit Master Yen clan is not a celestial race, the best among them were given the title of Celestial Master and were given the same treatment as the Celestials. You mean that the previous owner of this Celestial Master Mansion was Spirit Master Yen? Yun Chujio asked in surprise. That's right. If my memory is correct, it should be like this. Di Baiming's memories were only appearing little by little after the seal was broken, so he was not sure. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. I remember you once told me that you might need Spirit Master Yen in the future. What do you plan to do with them? Di Baiming shook his head. I don't know either. Just like how I know that those bones are useful to me, I have a vague feeling that I will need Spirit Master Yen. Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. It was as if she didn't say anything. Forget it, she couldn't be bothered to argue with an amnesia snake. However, since the gigolo said that the master of the Celestial Master Mansion was Spirit Master Yen, she had to go in and take a look. Perhaps there might be some unexpected gains. Seeing that Yun Chujio wanted to go in, the Guai Chao in her dantian immediately stopped struggling. It was the stupid girl who wanted to go in on her own accord. It could not be blamed. However, why was there still a tinge of guilt? Just as Yun Chujio was about to push open the door, the Guai Chao decided to remind her. It could not be helped. It was too kind. As the Guai Chao struggled, Yun Chujio's dantian was in pain. She guessed with her spiritual sense, is this mansion inappropriate? Guai Chao immediately used a leaf to indicate that something was wrong. Something was very wrong. When Yun Chujio saw this, she could not help but stop in her tracks. If Go Weiba said that something was wrong, then there should really be something wrong inside. So, should she go in or not? However, this guy thought that since the Spirit Master Yen was useful to the gigolo, perhaps he could find some useful things in the Celestial Master's Mansion. It was better to go in and take a look. Just as this guy was thinking, the members of the Land family had already pushed open the door and entered. After all, she and Guai Chao were communicating with their spiritual senses. The members of the Land family did not know about this. Seeing this, Yun Chujio did not need to hesitate anymore. Guai Chao also heaved a sigh of relief. This was not its fault. It was this stupid girl who insisted on going in. This guy quickly directed his little treasury to run in the direction of Yun Chujio. TSK, today was really a good day. He could do whatever he wanted. Yun Chujio was not interested in the exquisiteness of the courtyard. She walked into the main hall opposite the main door. The furnishings in the main hall did not show any signs of being tampered with. There was even half a cup of tea in the teacup. It was as if someone was laughing and chatting with her just a moment ago. Chapter 50-58. Yen Feng. Before entering, Yun Chujio had already instructed the Lan family members not to touch anything inside. Therefore, Lan Luofeng and the others only looked around curiously. No one touched the items inside the house. Yun Chujio and the others walked around the main hall. They did not find anything unusual, so they entered the second-floor courtyard. Gowei Batsao had hidden in the grass in the second-floor courtyard. When it saw Yun Chujio coming over, it immediately sneakily flew onto Yun Chujio's shoes. Everyone's attention was on the exquisite surroundings, so no one noticed Gowei Batsao. Even so, Gowei Batsao did not dare to rashly fly onto Yun Chujio's hair. It could only sadly lie on Yun Chujio's shoes. This fellow had made up his mind that he would never wander around again. It was too dangerous. There were many rooms in the courtyard. Yun Chujio glanced at them and said, "The rooms here are similar. In order to avoid any accidents, everyone will enter and leave together. Do not act alone." Everyone was very obedient now, so they all nodded in agreement. Goei Batsao thought to himself, "This stupid girl is really cunning. I just don't know if she will fall for it too." Yun Chujio led everyone into a room in the middle. It was very spacious, and the decoration was similar to the main hall. Yun Chujio led everyone to the room next door to take a look. Other than the exquisite decorations, it was no different from the layout of an ordinary mansion. Yun Chujio had no choice but to bring her people into the third courtyard. Once they entered the third-floor courtyard, one of the doors opened automatically. Everyone was shocked. Why did the door open by itself? Could there be someone inside? Yun Chujio was also shocked. She secretly walked closer and looked inside. It seemed to be a study room. The question was, should they enter or not? This guy decided to be more polite. He bowed and said, "May I ask who is in the room? Is it the Celestial Master?" Lan Luo Yen and the others were dumbfounded. What was going on? Was the Celestial Master referring to the master of the mansion? He had died a long time ago. While everyone was thinking, an old sigh came from inside the room. "Honored guest, please come in." Everyone staggered in shock. Was there really someone inside? Yun Chujio shamelessly pointed at herself. "Honored guest, are you referring to me?" There was no reply from inside. Instead, a huge force pulled Yun Chujio inside and the door was closed again. Lan Luofeng and the others were about to barge in, but they realized that they could not find the previous room. For a moment, they were burning with anxiety. After Yun Chujio entered the room, she realized that it was indeed a study room. Behind the desk stood an old man with a white beard and hair. He looked like a celestial being, just like the old celestial being that Yun Chujio had imagined. Yun Chujio was about to speak, but the old man nodded slightly. "Honored guest, greetings." Hei Shinjio could not help but feel flattered. This old man was very polite. The old man pretended to return the greeting and then asked, "Are you the Celestial Master?" The old man smiled bitterly. "Celestial Master? Honored guest, please call me Yen Feng." "Senior Yen, may I know why you called me in?" Yun Chujio naturally would not call him by his name, so she called him Senior Yen. "Honored guest, please take a seat," Yen Feng said politely. Yun Chujio didn't stand on ceremony and directly sat on the chair. She was puzzled. What did this old man want to say? Chapter 50-59. For sentences, Yen Feng only sat down when he saw Yun Chujio sit down. "Honored guest, to tell you the truth, this old man is only a remnant of my spiritual sense," Yen Feng said with a sigh. Yun Chujio had long guessed this, so she was not surprised. Yen Feng continued, "Although this old man is not proficient in learning, as a spiritual master Yen, I can also deduce some things. I am very grateful to you for saving my junior's life." Yun Chujio smiled and said, "Senior Yen, you are too polite. It is only right to see injustice on the road and lend a helping hand." This fellow thought to himself, this old man is too amazing. He can even calculate the things that will happen tens of thousands of years later? Yen Feng sighed. "Now, our spiritual master Yen clan is already very withered, right? Junior doesn't know much about the specific situation, but it seems that there are very few rumors," Yun Chujio said tactfully. Yen Feng smiled bitterly. "Honored guest, you don't have to be so cautious. Let's not talk about how you owe my junior a favor. With my identity as an honored guest, this old man wouldn't dare to act rashly. If it wasn't for the fact that my remaining spiritual sense was too weak to leave this position, this old man would have sat at the head of the honored guest." Yun Chujio was stunned. "My identity? What identity?" Yen Feng shook his head. "Honored guest, you are still so thoughtful. No wonder." Yen Feng did not continue speaking when he said this. Instead, he changed the topic. "Honored guest, I invited you in to remind you that the Divine Emperor Pavilion is fraught with danger. Don't trust others easily. Remember." Divine Emperor Pavilion? Are you talking about the 18th level? Yun Chujio asked in puzzlement. That's right. It's the highest level. That used to be the Divine Emperor Pavilion where the Emperor Shin lived. I've already calculated that if you want to leave, you have to enter the Divine Emperor Pavilion. Yanfeng said. Yun Chujio stood up and bowed respectfully. Thank you for your reminder, Senior. Do you have any unfinished wishes? If you need my help, feel free to say it. Without benefits, one would not get up early. Yun Chujio felt that this old man was not just simply repaying a debt of gratitude. Yen Feng smiled and said, Honored guest, you are indeed smart. This old man does have a favor to ask of you. Because our spirit master Yen clan was able to unravel the secrets of the heavens, most of us died young. This is our fate. This old man is not the least bit unwilling. I only hope that you can protect Spirit Master Yan's family and prevent it from being exterminated due to other unforeseen circumstances, so that the Yen family's bloodline can be passed on. Yen Feng stood up and bowed solemnly. Yun Chujio quickly jumped up from the chair and moved to the side. Senior Yen, you're too polite. I'll agree. However, I'm just a little trash now. I'm afraid that I won't be of much help for the time being. Yen Feng's face stiffened and he said slowly, Honored guest, you are just a hidden dragon in the abyss. There will come a time when you will soar to the sky. Hei Xinjiu was very pleased with Yen Feng's words, but she still asked about serious matters. Senior Yen, why has this supreme city become like this? And who destroyed the God clan? Yen Feng shook his head. We can't tell you. Our honored guest will find out sooner or later. The corner of Yun Chujio's eyes twitched. It seemed like she couldn't get anything out of him, but it was good enough that she got a reminder. Yun Chujio was about to say something, but she realized that she had already arrived outside the house. However, she didn't know when, but there was a note in her hand. There were 4 sentences on it. A wild goose flies to the clouds in anger, the shadow of a branch in the west of the mountain at sunset, a pair of broken stars perches on a good tree, the world is full of strange things. Chapter 50-60 Extraterrestrial Soul. Yun Chujio looked at the piece of paper with a dumbfounded expression. This piece of paper was given to her by Yen Feng? What did it mean? At this moment, the old man's old voice came from the room. Honored guest, your identity is related to the secrets of the heavens. I can't say it out loud. Honored guest, please comprehend it on your own. Yun Chujio was stunned. Her identity? The moment she was stunned, the study room had already disappeared. It was as if everything from before was a dream. What surprised her even more was that the note in her hand had also turned into nothingness at the same time. Little Jiao, are you all right? Lan Luofang saw Yun Chujio appear out of thin air and asked with concern. Yun Chujio shook her head, but in her heart, she recalled the 4 sentences on the note. She had always been smart. With just a little thought, she had already guessed the 4 sentences. Each sentence was a word puzzle. When a single goose flew into the clouds in anger, the corresponding word for the single goose was human, while the corresponding word for the cloud was two. When it flew into the clouds, it meant that it did not have a head, and that was the word heaven. When the sun set in the west, the branches would be slanted. When the sun set in the west, it would naturally be the setting sun, and the corresponding word would be 11. When the branches were slanted, the corresponding word would be bow, and when the 2 combined, it would be the word outer. A pair of broken stars perched on a good tree. The broken stars corresponded to chi, and the word mu meant rice. No, the word one was specially mentioned earlier. That meant come. The world was full of miracles. Yunbangui. This was simple. Yunbangui was soul. Soul from the heavens? Yun Chujio thought to herself that this Yen Feng was quite capable. She had transmigrated here. Wouldn't that mean that she was a soul from the heavens? However, she vaguely felt that something was wrong. Although she had transmigrated here, wasn't she the ghost ancestor in her previous life? This was like going out and coming back. How could she be called an otherworldly soul? Thinking of this, Yun Chujio pursed her lips. This old fraud probably had a false name, making him sound so mysterious. In fact, his calculations were completely wrong. At this moment, everyone asked her what she should do next. She threw this matter to the back of her mind and treated it as if Yen Feng was deliberately mystifying things. Yun Chujio immediately led everyone out of the Celestial Master Mansion and continued to walk forward. Goei Batsao took advantage of the opportunity when Yun Chujio was studying the crossword puzzle and finally climbed onto her head. When this fellow heard Yun Chujio say the words extraterrestrial soul, Yizi trembled. She thought to herself, that old man still had some ability. Unfortunately, he was dead. From this point, it could be seen that the status of the people living on the 4th level was much higher than the people living on the 3rd level. An hour later, everyone saw the second house. The plaque said, Divine General Zhen Weiss Mansion. Presumably, this Divine General should be a position of the God clan. Yun Chujio and the others wanted to quickly reach the 5th level of the levitation layer, so they did not plan to go inside. Who would have thought that the door of the mansion would open automatically? A 30-feet-tall giant in armor walked out from inside. He was holding a large saber that was flashing with cold light. Everyone was so scared that they stepped back. Who was this person? Could it be that Divine General Zhen Wei? How dare you trespass into this God General's residence? What crime should you commit? The loud roar made everyone's ears ring. Could this person really be God General Zhen Wei? Yun Chujio naturally didn't believe that this person was God General Zhen Wei. The Celestials in this place had already died a long time ago. How could there be God General Zhen Wei? At most, he was just like Yen Feng. It was just a remnant of his consciousness. Chapter 5061. Divine General Zhen Wei, Big Brother, we didn't even enter your residence. How can we be called intruders? Yun Chujio said with a chuckle. The giant was stunned for a moment, then he roared, This area of dozens of miles is my territory. You came in without informing us. Naturally, you are intruding. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. Before us, didn't anyone pass by here? The giant frowned and thought for a moment, then shook his head. No, I haven't seen any outsiders for a long time. Yun Chujio was puzzled. Mu Zian and the others should have reached the 4th level before them. How come the giant had never seen them before? While she was deep in thought, the giant said impatiently, Cut the crap. You trespassed my mansion. Come here, let me chop off your heads. Yun Chujio felt that the giant's brain did not seem to be working well, so she came up with a bad idea. She smiled and said, Master General, actually, it was Celestial Master Yen who asked us to come here. Celestial Master Yen asked you to come here? That old thing is always talking nonsense. Why did he ask you to come here? The giant asked suspiciously. Hearing his words, Yun Chujio had a rough idea in her heart. This giant should be just a remnant of his consciousness. No wonder the people in the previous trial had only seen the 3rd level of levitation. It was likely that the Celestials above the 4th level had a higher cultivation level and left a remnant of their consciousness in it. That was why they had never appeared in the world. However, why did it appear this time? Lord Divine General, Heavenly Master Yen said that your divine skills are unrivaled and your battle achievements are outstanding. In a few days, you will be promoted to a rank. He asked us to come over and congratulate you in advance, Yun Chujio said with admiration. Although she had only heard a few words from this so-called mighty divine general, Yun Chujio could already tell that he was a person who was very happy with his achievements. Sure enough, hearing Yun Chujio's words, the giant laughed out loud. That old thing is not wrong this time. I will soon become a divine general. Lan Luofeng and the others were all dumbfounded. Was it really okay for this troublemaker to speak nonsense in a serious manner? The celestial race had already been exterminated for tens of thousands of years, and they still wanted to be promoted? It was purely a dream. Yun Chujio waited for the giant's laughter to subside before she asked with a smile, Divine General, no, Lord Commander, shouldn't you go to the Emperor Shin's pavilion to thank His Majesty for his kindness? The giant was stunned at first before he nodded. That's right. I should go and thank His Majesty for his kindness and appreciation of me. After saying that, the giant ignored Yun Chujio and the others and walked forward. Everyone was puzzled. How did little Gio know about the Divine Emperor Pavilion? Could it be that the old man from the Celestial Master Mansion had said something to her? The giant walked very quickly. Yun Chujio and the others tried their best to keep up with him. Yun Chujio thought that this celestial race was indeed extraordinary. Just the remnant of his soul consciousness was so powerful. What kind of terrifying existence was this when he was alive? However, such a powerful celestial race was exterminated. The mastermind behind this was so terrifying that it was impossible to imagine. She didn't know if there were no wild beasts on the 4th level or if they were afraid of the giant's pressure. In short, they walked unimpeded all the way to the spiral stairs. Yun Chujio thought that the giant would climb up the stairs. However, she realized that the giant did not stop but continued to walk forward. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and gestured for everyone to continue to follow. Chapter 5062, Divine Emperor Pavilion. After walking for a while, the giant walked to a pavilion-like place and placed a jade token on it. Yun Chujio and the rest were astonished to discover that the pavilion had turned into a teleportation array formation. Seeing the giant walk in, Yun Chujio gritted her teeth and brought Lan Luofeng and the rest in as well. Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. It seemed like the teleportation array formation that Lan Luomu had was not reliable at all. There was a teleportation array formation here, but he had not discovered it. She had originally tricked the giant to pay a visit to Emperor Shin so that he could be used as cannon fodder and pass through a few levels smoothly. However, from the looks of it, they did not need to go through one level after another. This teleportation array most likely led to the 18th level. It was simply wonderful. The giant had a deep attachment to the so-called Divine Commander position. Hence, even when he saw Yun Chujio and the others following him, he turned a blind eye. A moment later, a white light flashed in front of her eyes. An extremely luxurious palace appeared in front of Yun Chujio. The words Divine Emperor Pavilion on the palace emitted a myriad of multicolored lights. Even though she had never seen many things before, it did not mean that she did not know what was good for her. Not to mention other things, just the stone slabs on the ground were enough to make everyone dumbfounded. The stone slabs were made of the same material as the pearls that were full of spiritual energy that they had discovered previously. It was simply too extravagant. Hei Shinjio felt a little itchy in her heart. My goodness, if I were to put all these stone slabs away, wouldn't I make a fortune? Fortunately, this fellow was greedy for money, so he still knew what was important and what was not. When he saw that the giant had already walked forward, he quickly followed. In almost an instant, the originally empty hall was filled with many shining divine weapons. They directly blocked Yun Chujio and the others from entering the hall. Lan Luofeng and the others were already trembling. If not for the fact that they still had a shred of rationality and knew that there were no living people here, they would have already knelt on the ground. Yun Chujio's expression was the same as usual. She stood on her tiptoes and looked into the hall, but she couldn't see anything clearly due to the fog. At this moment, a person who looked like an attendant walked out and said arrogantly, "His Majesty has ordered you to enter." Yun Chujio nodded and immediately led Lan Luofeng and the others into the Great Hall. Needless to say, the Great Hall was luxurious. What was even more amazing was that everyone's feet were surrounded by clouds and mist, making people feel as if they were floating in the air. An old man wearing a bright yellow dragon robe sat on an extremely luxurious throne in the front. He looked mighty even though he was not angry. Behind him stood several palace maids and attendants. Some of them were holding a palm fan, while others were holding a tray. No one knew what was on the tray. Yun Chujio saw an old man in the middle on the left and could not help but shrink her eyes. It was actually Yen Feng. However, the way Yen Feng looked at her was no different from a stranger. However, what was going on? Just as Yun Chujio was sizing him up, a servant shouted sternly, "How dare you? Why aren't you kneeling when you see His Majesty?" Lan Luofeng and the others were already trembling. When they heard this, they immediately knelt on the ground, not even daring to raise their heads. They were intimidated by this pressure, and the last bit of clarity in their hearts no longer existed. They only thought that they had really met Emperor Shin. Yun Chujio was not affected. She thought for a moment and understood. Everything in front of her was most likely formed from the remnant consciousness of Emperor Shin. This could also explain why Yen Feng did not recognize her. However, this Emperor Shin was not an ordinary person. Even his remnant consciousness was extremely terrifying. He had to think long and hard. Chapter 5063. Zhang Qiqi had a son. Yun Chujio thought that a wise man would not be at a disadvantage in front of him. Therefore, this fellow also knelt down. This fellow comforted himself in his heart. Anyway, the person in front of him was a dead person. He could just sweep his grave. What surprised Yun Chujio was that the Emperor Shin said indifferently, although the ghost race has submitted to our celestial race, as the ghost ancestor, your status is equivalent to a divine venerate. Get up. Give me a seat. Just as the Emperor Shin said that, a servant moved a chair to the left and placed it on the first seat. Yun Chujio did not know what the Emperor Shin was up to, but she still walked to the side of the seat and sat down. She thought of Lan Luofeng and the others, but when she looked up, she found that Lan Luofeng and the others had disappeared. Yun Chujio did not panic. As the saying goes, when the army comes, the general will block it. When the water comes, the soil will cover it. She will counter every move. I believe you have guessed it as well. Right now, I am just a remnant of my divine sense, said Emperor Shin calmly. Yun Chujio did not expect Emperor Shin to admit it so easily. For a moment, she did not know how to respond. Hence, she did not say anything. The celestial race was completely annihilated overnight. The supreme city became an empty city overnight. This is all fate. Yun Chujio saw that the Emperor Shin's voice contained some desolation, but there was no sadness. She thought to herself that this Emperor Shin's character was quite tenacious. Emperor Shin continued, "Do you know why you were able to be reborn?" Yun Chujio shook her head. She naturally did not know. This is because I used the last remaining divine power to protect your divine soul and sent you to a different world, Emperor Shin said slowly. Yun Chujio revealed a shocked and grateful expression, but she did not believe it in her heart. She was not related to this bullshit Emperor Shin, so how could he be so kind? He was lying to a ghost. Emperor Shin glanced at Yun Chujio indifferently and said, "You may think that I am lying to you, but do you know that I deliberately sent a woman with the bloodline of the celestial race to a different world with you in order to protect you?" Yun Chujio was stunned. What did he mean? Emperor Shin did not continue, as if he was waiting for Yun Chujio to take the initiative to ask. Yun Chujio thought for a moment and asked, "Who is the woman that your majesty is talking about?" Yun Chujio's pupils constricted slightly, and her two hands instantly clenched. She said somewhat obscurely, "The woman that your majesty is talking about is Yun Qi?" "That's right. If not, why do you think Yun Qi would risk her life to protect you?" "This is because I have left a mark in her spiritual sense. Her mission is to protect you," Emperor Shin said in a calm tone. Yun Chujio's expression froze. So it was just a mission? Then where is she now? But is she okay? Regardless of whether it was a mission or a friendship, Chi-Chi was her best friend and a friend of life and death. When you were struck by the heavenly lightning, Yun Qi used the power of her bloodline to send you back here. Originally, she should have been teleported to the same place as you. However, due to the limited power of her bloodline, she arrived in the Tianyuan continent a little later than you. What? Yun Qi is in the Tianyuan continent? Yun Chujio asked in surprise. She once stayed there for a short period of time. Now, she is in the Supreme City. Furthermore, she has given birth to a son, Emperor Shin said. Yun Chujio was even more surprised. Son? Chi-Chi had a son? Wait a minute, if Emperor Shin said that Chi-Chi was in the Supreme City, would she be able to meet Chi-Chi? Chapter 5064, Where's his father? Yun Chujio felt as if she had forgotten something. However, her heart was filled with the desire to see Yun Qi, so she did not think too much about it. Your Majesty, can you let me see Yun Qi? Yun Chujio pleaded. Of course. As soon as she finished speaking, the Emperor Shin waved his sleeves and a cold and refined woman walked in from outside the hall. Beside the woman was a little boy that looked to be 7 or 8 years old. When Yun Chujio saw the little boy's appearance, she felt as if she had been struck by lightning. Damn, why did this little boy look so similar to a black chicken's head? When the woman saw Yun Chujio, a hint of excitement appeared on her cold face. However, she still bowed respectfully and said, "Yun Chi greets your majesty." The little boy beside her also bowed respectfully like a little adult. Emperor Shin's expression did not change. Instead, he said, "The two of you have met again after such a long time. I believe you have a lot to say. Please leave first. I will summon the both of you in a few days." Yun Chujio had a lot to say to Yun Chi. Hence, she gave a perfunctory bow and dragged Yun Chi out of the main hall. Just as she was about to say something, a palace maid said, "Fairies, please follow this servant to the side hall to rest." After arriving at the side hall, Yun Chujio sent the palace maid out and said impatiently, "Chi, is it really you?" Yun Chi's cold face showed a helpless expression. "What do you think?" Yun Chujio chuckled, grabbed Yun Chi's hand, and said, "I thought I was dreaming." Yun Chujio had a belly full of words, but all of them turned into silly smiles. She felt that the originally empty part of her heart had been filled with happiness. After giggling foolishly for a long time, the fellow finally looked at the little boy next to him. Although the little boy had a face that looked very similar to Xue Wuji's, his expression was similar to Yun Chi's. It was clear and cold. Yun Chujio was just about to stretch out her demonic claws to pinch the little boy's face, but the little boy immediately dodged to the side. His phoenix-like eyes were filled with some probing and vigilance. Yun Chujio didn't succeed. She asked, Chi, is this kid your son? Why did you suddenly have such a big son? Where's his father?" Yun Chi curled her lips. "His father is too useless. He went to fight monsters to level up." Yun Chujio. This guy stared at the little boy's face that resembled Xue Wuji's. Although he felt that it was impossible, he still asked, Chi, is your man called Xue Wuji? Yun Chujio. This guy felt that his brain was not enough. Although she had once thought of pairing Yun Chi and Xue Wuji together, she felt that this wish was a little ridiculous and impossible to achieve. But now, she was telling her that not only did Xue Wuji and Chi really become a couple, but their son could also be a bystander? Did it have to be so exciting? Yun Chujio was stunned for a while before she asked, Chi, you? How did you and Wuji's heads get together? Yun Chi froze when she heard the words Wuji's head. Then she said faintly, he raped me. Then I felt that he was pretty good looking and raped him instead. Yun Chujio, what the hell? Black Chicken Head raped 7-7, and then 7 raped him? These two people really knew how to play. This guy instantly thought of her. Damn it, she and the gigolo didn't even get to have sex, but Black Chicken Head and 7-7's son could even play along. It was too embarrassing. Chapter 5065 gave a big gift to Rei. The more Yun Chujio thought about it, the more she felt that she was really stifled. Not to mention her son, she hadn't even gotten a gigolo yet. It was strange. When did Wuji's head hook up with Chi? She actually didn't notice it at all. That wasn't right. It seemed that once he came to Tianyuan Academy to visit her and stayed in Tianyuan City for a long time. During that period of time, he even asked her how she would react if a woman was raped. It turned out that he had raped Chi at that time. This damned black-headed chicken. No, Chi said that she had raped black-headed chicken instead. Now that she thought back, black-headed chicken had indeed behaved like a little wife who had been abandoned. This damned black-headed chicken. If she had told her earlier, she would have been able to see Chi earlier. Chi, does Wuji know that he has a son? Hei Shinjio thought wickedly. If Xue Wuji did not know, she could have teased him. Yun Chi guessed Yun Chujio's thoughts and nodded. Then she changed the topic. Little Jio, how have you been these years? Yun Chujio was stunned. Then she nodded vigorously. Good, very good. At this point, tears flowed out of her eyes. She then smiled and said, it's even better now. I thought that I would only be able to see you after I became a god. I didn't expect to see you now. Moreover, you and Wuji's heads have become a pair. This is really great. Yun-Chi's clear and cold eyes were slightly moist. Hello, I'm good. I'm good. Ruier, come over and greet your little Aunt Gio. Hearing this, Ruier bowed respectfully, but he did not walk over. Apparently, he was still guarding against Hei Xinjia's demonic claws. Hei Xinjiu did not mind it. She searched the storage ring, trying to find something good to give to Ruier as a greeting gift. However, for some reason she felt that the storage ring was hazy, but she could not find anything. She laughed dryly. There's something wrong with my storage ring. I'll give you a gift when it's back to normal. Don't worry, I'm very generous. Yun-Chi rolled her eyes and said indifferently, if you're generous, I'm afraid it'll rain red in the sky. Yun-Chujio was slapped and said with her hands on her hips, all right. Then I'll give Ruier a big gift. If the pretty boy and I give birth to a daughter, how about being Ruier's wife? However, Yun-Chi chuckled and said, all right, it's a deal. Ruier looked at his mother speechlessly. Was it really good to trick his son like this? When Yun-Chujio saw that Yun-Chi had agreed, she smiled so happily that her eyelashes were about to blossom. She was secretly pleased. This brat Ruier looked very good. Her daughter had already won at the starting line. She was simply a winner in life. Yun-Chujio and Yun-Chi seemed to have endless things to talk about. Yun-Chujio wanted to ask Yun-Chi about her experiences over the years, but a palace maid came over and said that the Emperor Shen wanted to meet the two of them. Yun-Chujio was puzzled. Didn't they say that they would meet again in a few days? It seemed like only half a day had passed. However, this question quickly disappeared, as if she had never had this thought. Yun-Chujio, Yun-Chi, and Ruier once again went to the Divine Hall. This time, the Emperor Shen did not give Yun-Chujio a seat. Yun-Chujio, I believe you believe what I said before, right? The Emperor Shen said indifferently. Chapter 5066. Yun-Chi's blood. Yun-Chujio felt dizzy for a moment. She nodded subconsciously and said, thank you, Your Majesty, for letting me reunite with Chi-Chi. Hearing this, a faint light flashed in Emperor Shen's eyes. He said, you don't have to be so polite. I originally planned to summon you in a few days, but I suddenly remembered something, so I summoned you here. Yun-Chi frowned and asked, what did Your Majesty think of? Emperor Shen sighed. I suddenly remembered that the Lord also suffered a serious injury that day, so he is still suffering from the cold poison. Now, I have found a way to cure him. Hearing this, Yun-Chujio was immediately delighted. She asked, what is it? Yun-Chi has the celestial bloodline. You just need to let the Lord consume Yun-Chi's blood. Don't worry, you don't need too much. Just a small porcelain bottle will do, Emperor Shen said slowly. Yun-Chujio was stunned. Yun-Chi's blood? Little Gio, do you want to save him? If you want, I'll give you his blood. It's just a small porcelain bottle anyway. It won't be a problem, Yun-Chi said. Yun-Chujio thought for a moment. It was just a small porcelain bottle anyway, so there was no problem. Therefore, she nodded. Chi-Chi, thank you so much. Don't worry, I'll make the gigolo repay you properly. Yun-Chi nodded. She immediately cut her index finger and received a porcelain bottle of fresh blood. Yun-Chujio was about to put the porcelain bottle into her storage ring when Emperor Shen said, the divine power in your bloodline is disappearing very quickly. You must immediately feed the blood to the Lord. Hearing this, Yun-Chujio immediately reached into her sleeve pocket and pulled out the small silver snake. When Yun-Chujio saw that the small silver snake's vertical pupils were tightly shut, she could not help but be shocked. Prince Charming, what happened to you? Emperor Shen said with slight anxiety, the cold poison has acted up again. Quickly feed him the blood so that his injuries do not worsen. Yun-Chujio immediately opened the cork of the porcelain bottle. On the throne, Emperor Shen's face was filled with anticipation and anxiety. There was even a hint of complacency. However, he saw Yun-Chujio put the stopper back on. Yun-Chujio, why are you not feeding the blood to the Lord? Emperor Shen urged. Yun-Chi, who was at the side, also said, that's right. Little Gio, quickly feed the blood to the Lord. Once his body recovers, the two of you will be able to get married and have children. Yun Chujio put the small silver snake back into her sleeve pocket and then fixed her gaze on Yun Chi. Yun Chi was a little scared by her stare. "Little Jio, what's wrong with you? Don't you want to quickly cure the Lord's cold poison?" Sheng Zun asked. Yun Chujio glanced at her a few more times, then looked at Rui Er, who had always been very obedient. Finally, her gaze fell on Emperor Shin. "Where did you take the real Chi Chi and Rui Er?" Yun Chujio stared at Emperor Shin and asked coldly. Emperor Shin frowned slightly. "Yun Chujio, what do you mean by this?" Yun Chujio pinched her palm with her fingernails so that she could remain clear-headed. She said coldly, "Yun Chi never talks so much. Moreover, that little brat's gaze isn't right either. The reason why you couldn't wait to call me over is because you want to swap the real Chi Chi and her son, right? Tell me, where are they? Otherwise, I'll kill you." Emperor Shin sneered. Good. As expected of the former ghost ancestor. "You're indeed smarter than others. It's just that it's too late for you to understand. The time limit for the teleportation barrier has passed. You and Di Beiming can stay in this supreme city forever." Chapter 5067. The illusionary realm of drinking poison. To quench thirst. As soon as Emperor Shin's voice fell, his entire person disappeared. An intense pain came from Yun Chujio's dantian. Her entire person suddenly became clear-headed. Only then did Yun Chujio realize that there was no fake Yun Chi and her mother by her side. Instead, it was the muddle-headed Lan Luoyen and the others. They were still in the Great Hall at this moment. However, the Great Hall was already empty. Yun Chujio was stunned for a moment. The first thing she did was to look at the small silver snake in her sleeve. When she saw that the small silver snake's vertical pupils were closed, her heart tightened. She stretched out her hand to check for breath. When she saw that the breath was still normal, she heaved a sigh of relief. She looked at the porcelain bottle in her hand. She did not open the cork but kept it in her storage ring. After she was freed, she would let Go Weiba analyze the ingredients in the bottle. Perhaps it would be able to solve the mystery of the cold poison in Di Beiming's body. Yun Chujio laughed bitterly. Even though Yen Feng warned her not to trust others, she was still tricked. Chi Chi was a hole in her heart. Even if there was a tiny possibility, she did not want to miss it. It was because her obsession was too strong. Even the pain caused by the black bead did not wake her up. In other words, she was addicted to the illusion of drinking poison to quench her thirst. She was satisfied to be able to see Chi Chi, talk to her, and know if she was doing well. However, the illusion was too real. She couldn't find any flaws in it. What was going on? At the same time, in a bedroom, a cold-looking woman opened her eyes. She was dazed for a moment, then jumped up from the bed and called out in fear, "Rare! Rare! Mother!" A confused child's voice came from the side room. The woman closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Then she rushed to the next room. On the bed sat a 7- or 8-year-old little boy. The little boy's features were like a painting, especially his phoenix eyes. Even though he was still young, he was still so stunning that people could not take their eyes off him. The woman nervously checked the little boy. When she saw that he was fine, she heaved a sigh of relief. It was rare for the little boy to see a woman so nervous. He then recalled the dream he had just had. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "Mother, I had a dream just now." The woman was startled. "What dream?" "We seem to have arrived at a palace. There's Emperor Shin and many palace maids. Oh right, there's also a, somewhat strange woman. You asked me to call her little ninth aunt." When the woman heard the little boy's description, her expression became more and more solemn. Why did she and Rui have the same dream? The little boy omitted the matter of that strange aunt wanting to give her daughter to him as his wife. That aunt was so strange. He did not want that kind of wife. After the little boy finished speaking, he saw the woman's solemn expression and asked somewhat uneasily, "Mother, what's wrong?" The woman was different from ordinary parents. She had always treated the little boy as an equal, so she did not hide anything and said, "Mother and you had the same dream." The little boy was stunned. "Mother, is there something wrong?" The woman nodded slightly. No one in the world would have the same dream. Moreover, we had the same dream at the same time. The little boy's exquisite little face turned solemn. Mother, then do you really know little Aunt Gio? Is there really such a person as little Aunt Gio? The woman nodded. Of course. Mother's only relative is your little Aunt Gio. Chapter 5068. Is little Aunt Gio really that smart? A hint of worry appeared in the little boy's phoenix-like eyes. Mother, since this dream is a little inappropriate, could little Aunt Gio really be trapped in that palace? Will anything happen to little Aunt Gio? The woman was not surprised by her son's intelligence. After a moment of silence, she said, even if your little Aunt Gio is really trapped inside, she will be able to escape safely. The little boy asked in puzzlement, why is that? A smile appeared on the woman's cold face. Because your little ninth aunt is the smartest person in the world. She will think of a way to resolve it. When the little boy heard this, he did not believe it. That little ninth aunt was strange. Could she really be that smart? The woman seemed to see through the little boy's thoughts and said softly, do you think that mother is exaggerating? The little boy's face flushed red and said uneasily, Mother, is that little Aunt Gio really that smart? The woman chuckled and did not say anything, her thoughts drifting away. When little Gio had just been brought back by the people from the organization, she was only 6 years old, 2 or 3 years younger than her companions. In addition, she was a little beggar before, thin and small. Everyone wondered how such a good-for-nothing could be chosen. Naturally, everyone despised and ostracized her. In addition to the fact that it was a hell that ate people without spitting out their bones, everyone thought that she would be the first to die. However, in just a year, Xiao Jio, who was only 7 years old, had become the leader of their group and finally became her partner. Seeing that his mother did not speak, the little boy thought for a moment and asked, Mother, Aunt Xiao Jio said that she knows father. Is that true? The girl's thoughts were interrupted by the little boy's words. When she heard him mention Shui Wuji, she could not help but be startled. Then, she said, if we have the chance to see that unreliable father of yours again, we will ask him and we will know. The little boy's face appeared a little unnatural, but he still asked, Mother, when will we be able to see father again? The girl's cold face also revealed a little discomfort. When your father becomes stronger after killing monsters, we will naturally be able to see him. The little boy was used to his mother's odd words. He mumbled, Father is so stupid. The woman, Hei Shinjio, who was missed by the mother and son, sneezed, Achoo! Is Chi-Chi talking about me? I wonder if what I saw before was real? Forget it. We'll find out after we go out and ask Wuji's head. Yun Chujio mumbled before splashing water on Lan Luofeng and the others to wake them up. Lan Luofeng and the others had confused looks on their faces. What happened? Their memories were still stuck at the moment they saw Emperor Shen. After that, everything went blank. Lan Luomu took out a spirit tool that could show the date and time. Then he widened his eyes in horror. No, that's impossible. We were only unconscious for a while. How could so many days have passed? Lan Luofeng and the others were immediately shocked when they heard that. They moved closer to Lan Luomu to take a look, and were instantly dumbfounded. Could it be that there's something wrong with your spirit tool? We clearly only fell asleep for a short while. Lan Luoyen said, unwilling to give up. The others also agreed. If so many days had really passed, then wouldn't they have already missed the teleportation barrier? Wouldn't that mean they would be stuck here forever? No, that was absolutely impossible. There must be something wrong with the spiritual artifact. Chapter 5069. Emperor Shin Yun Chujio sighed. The spirit weapon did not make a mistake. We have indeed missed the teleportation barrier. The reason why Yun Chujio was so certain was that she had asked the dumb cuties and even asked the black bead for confirmation. The black bead would not be affected by the illusion. If she had not been too obsessed, she would not have been tricked by Emperor Shin. Even though the black bead had warned her, she was still immersed in the illusion of drinking poison to quench her thirst. The black bead was afraid that it would damage her dantian, so she did not dare to go overboard. When everyone heard Yun Chujio's words, they immediately sat down on the ground. It was over. They were going to be trapped in this supreme city. Yun Chujio thought for a moment. If she wanted to get out, the breakthrough would undoubtedly be on that Emperor Shen. She naturally did not believe what Emperor Shen had said to her in the illusory realm. That old thing obviously did not have any good intentions. She blinked her eyes and shouted with her hands on her waist, "Emperor Shen, come out!" A dignified Emperor Shen actually used such a lowly method to trap us. Is this a distortion of divinity or a depravity of morality? Just as Yun Chujio finished her sentence, a shadow appeared on the dragon throne. It was the Emperor Shen. "Yun Chujio, you brought this upon yourself. If you had fed the medicine to Di Biming as I said, you would have already left this place." The Emperor Shen sneered. "To think that you would say such a thing? That is my fiancé. Why would I harm him? I don't understand. You only have a strand of divine sense left. Why would you want to kill him?" Yun Chujio asked in confusion. Emperor Shen sighed. "The medicine I gave you was not to kill him, but to strengthen his seal. Once his seal is strengthened, the cold poison will naturally be reduced. Although you and Di Biming were lovers in your previous life, there is a deep hatred between you. Once he unseals all the seals, it will be too late for you to regret. I am also helping you. Why don't you pour the medicine down his throat right now and everyone will be happy? Wouldn't that be great?" Yun Chujio looked deeply at Emperor Shen. "Your Majesty, Emperor Shen, do you think I am a fool?" Emperor Shen was suddenly angered from embarrassment. "What I am saying to you is all good advice. If you don't listen, I have no other choice. Then you can just die here." Yun Chujio laughed crisply. "Your Majesty, Emperor Shen, I originally thought that you are a drifter now. There are some things that are hard to say, but you can't treat me as a fool, right? If you really had good intentions, why didn't you tell me openly? Why did you make me fall into an illusion and make up such a lie? Furthermore, if you were really that smart, your celestial race wouldn't have all died. This supreme city wouldn't have become an empty city." Emperor Shen was so angry that he was trembling. "Good, very good. You are indeed sharp-tongued. Aren't you afraid that I will kill Yun Chi and her son?" Yun Chujio sneered. "If you really had that ability, you would have done it long ago. Why would you need to spend so much effort to set up an illusion array? Although I don't know how you did it, you won't have a second chance." When Yun Chujio said this, killing intent suddenly rose. Lan Luofang and the others could not help but tremble. "Yun Chujio, I can't be bothered to waste my breath on you. No matter how smart you are, no matter how sharp-tongued you are, you can only be trapped here." The moment Emperor Shen's voice fell, the phantom disappeared. Yun Chujio did not obtain much useful information from this conversation. Hence, she said, "Emperor Shen, why are you in such a hurry to run? Come out, I have something to ask you." Chapter 50-70, "You are really naive," Yun Chujio shouted a few times, but Emperor Shen did not come out again. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and shouted, "Emperor Shen, I think what you said makes sense. As long as I pour the medicine into the pretty boy, you will send us out? You are not lying to us?" "Of course it's true. Jun Wu is not joking." Emperor Shen's figure appeared again. "How do I know that you're not lying to me? The teleportation barrier has already been closed. How can you send us out?" Yun Chujio asked suspiciously. "I naturally have my ways. You just need to do as I say." Emperor Shen said somewhat impatiently. Yun Chujio's eyes flashed and she said with her hands on her hips, "All right, if you don't keep your word, then you're just an old bastard." Emperor Shen gritted his teeth, but he endured it and did not say a word. Yun Chujio took out a porcelain bottle from her storage ring and a small silver snake from her sleeve pocket. Just as she was about to pour the medicine into the porcelain bottle, Emperor Shen suddenly said, "Wait, throw the porcelain bottle on the ground and drink this bottle of medicine." Yun Chujio curled her lips. "It's really troublesome." Even though she said that, she still threw the porcelain bottle aside and picked up the porcelain bottle that Emperor Shen threw over. Sigh. "Pretty boy, there's nothing I can do. As the saying goes, husband and wife are birds in the same forest. When disaster strikes, they fly separately. I can't do anything about it. Don't blame me." Pretty boy, I was forced to do this. Don't blame me. Pretty boy, don't worry. Even if you become a fool after drinking the medicine, I will take care of you for the rest of your life. There was a hint of mockery in Emperor Shin's eyes. Everyone was selfish. Didn't Yun Chujio say so much just to find an excuse for herself? Finally, Yun Chujio stopped blabbering. She opened the bottle stopper and poured the medicine into the small silver snake's mouth. Yun Chujio put the small silver snake back into her sleeve pocket and said, "Can you let us out now?" Emperor Shin laughed out loud. "Yun Chujio, you are really smart and muddle-headed. Do you think I will let you go?" Yun Chujio took 2 steps back in disbelief. You lied to me?" Emperor Shin laughed for a while more before saying, "Yun Chujio, you are really naive." Yun Chujio was so angry that she was twitching. "You, the dignified Emperor Shin, actually did not keep your word. Do you still have any face? Also, what kind of medicine did you ask me to give the gigolo?" "Naturally, it's a medicine that will take his life. As long as he dies, our celestial race will be resurrected, and our celestial race will return to its former glory." Emperor Shin said somewhat crazily. Yun Chujio's heart shook. What did he mean? What did he mean by the death of the gigolo and the celestial race will be resurrected? She did not have the time to think about it. The most important thing now was to deal with this cunning and ruthless Emperor Shin. She looked as if she had suffered a huge blow as she shouted, "You're shameless. Too shameless. As the Emperor Shin, you actually lied to me. Actually, you have no way to send us out, right? What about those people who came in with us? Were they also killed by you?" Emperor Shin seemed to enjoy seeing Yun Chujio's defeated look. He said proudly, "Those people have already used the teleportation barrier to leave. You probably don't know about it, right? The teleportation array was set up on the 4th level, inside the Zhenwei Divine General's residence. I used a little trick to trick all of you to come here. If not, do you think that the 4th level will have an array that leads directly to the Divine Emperor Pavilion? You have always claimed to be smart, but in reality, you are only SOSO. Chapter 5071 Dream Entry Technique. When Yun Chujio heard this, she looked as though she had suffered a huge blow. She was somewhat vexed. That's right, she had been careless. She did not even think about it. That Zhenwei Divine General's rank was not high. How could he have a token that could lead straight to the Divine Emperor Pavilion? However, she had placed too much trust in the spirit weapon in Lan Luma's hands. It must have been done by the Emperor Shin that caused the spirit weapon to malfunction. When the Emperor Shin saw Yun Chujio's dejected look, he felt very relieved. He continued, "If you had not arrived here, I would not have been able to make Di Baiming fall into a deep sleep. Therefore, all of this was caused by your stupidity. The rumors that the ghost ancestor's wisdom is stronger than the gods were just rumors." Yun Chujio smiled bitterly. "I was indeed too stupid. I admit defeat. However, why did you let those people out? Wouldn't it be better to just trap them here?" Emperor Shin snorted coldly. "Letting them out will make the people outside lower their guard and think that there is nothing unusual about this supreme city. To avoid attracting unnecessary trouble. After all, it was not easy for me to get this opportunity, so I naturally have to be careful." Yun Chujio nodded. Emperor Shin is indeed Emperor Shin. He is actually so meticulous. However, you probably have no way to teleport us out, right? After all, if you had such a method, you wouldn't be trapped here forever. Of course, I have a way to teleport all of you out. Right now, I am only a wisp of spiritual sense. If I leave this place, it will completely dissipate, so I don't dare to leave this place. However, I can be revived very soon. This 3,000 large and small continents will be mine again. Emperor Shin laughed crazily. "I don't believe it. If you really have a way to teleport us out, why does Supreme City only open once every 30 years? You must be exaggerating. In reality, you don't have much divine power left." Yun Chujio shook her head and said, "That's right. In order to design all of this, I have exhausted all of my divine power. However, this supreme city has a teleportation array that leads to the outside world. As long as it is activated, I will naturally be able to do it. However, I have no intention of letting you guys go, so you can give up on this idea. However, don't worry, I will not kill you. After my divine power recovers, I will use my divine power to unlock your seal and then read your memories. After all, everyone knows that the ghost ancestor is rich. The treasures that you have hidden are all mine. Ha! Yun Chujio was so angry that her face turned red. You are shameless. You are shameless. I don't know. That teleportation array was prepared for you to use after your resurrection. Am I right? Emperor Shin snorted coldly. You are finally smart. That's right. After my resurrection, I do not have the patience to wait for 30 years. I can directly exit that teleportation array. Yun Chujio asked in puzzlement. Emperor Shin, I heard that the celestial race can tear through the void. Since that's the case, why do you still want to set up a teleportation array here? Emperor Shin snorted coldly. There are countless things that people spread rumors about. Although our celestial race can tear through the void, there are many restrictions. Furthermore, the location of this supreme city is quite special. In addition, after I resurrect, my divine power will definitely be very weak. Naturally, it will be difficult for me to use the void technique. Then what about the 77th mother and son that I saw when I fell into the illusion? Yun Chujio asked. Emperor Shin was now very pleased with himself, but he still had a little bit of pride in him. He said, this is the dreamland art. Although it has consumed a lot of my divine power, no matter what, it is still worth it to trap you here. Chapter 5072. Just wait for your resurrection. Yun Chujio was delighted when she heard Emperor Shin's words. In that case, the Chi-Chi and Rui air that she had seen were both real. That was great. As long as Chi-Chi and she were on the same plane, she would definitely have a way to find Chi-Chi. It had to be said that this idiot Xue Wuji was really blessed. He had actually flirted with Chi-Chi and even had an elder son. Yun Chujio suppressed the joy in her heart and continued to deal with Emperor Shin. So, it's the dream entering technique. The celestial race really lives up to its reputation. Emperor Shin said proudly, of course. When the celestial race was at its peak, there was no force in this world that could contend with our celestial race. If it wasn't for the fact that I only had a remnant of my spiritual sense, it wouldn't have been difficult to capture that mother and son to Supreme City. Oh, why have I heard that the demon race isn't weak? Yun Chujio said indifferently. Demon race? They are just a bunch of crooks. How can they be compared to my celestial race? Emperor Shin said disdainfully. Yun Chujio did not argue with him. Instead, she changed the topic. I was indeed one step behind this time. It was just my carelessness. Let me guess where the teleportation array will be set up. I feel that there is a high chance that it will be in the Divine Emperor Pavilion. Furthermore, it will be in this great hall. Am I right? When Yun Chujio said this, she stared intently into Emperor Shin's eyes, not missing a single change. When she saw Emperor Shin's pupils suddenly constrict, she had a guess in her heart. It seemed that she was right. Emperor Shin snorted coldly. You want to find out the location of the teleportation array? Dream on. Yun Chujio could not be bothered to put on an act anymore. She sneered, Emperor Shin, it doesn't matter if you don't say it. I'll find it myself. I don't believe that I can't find it. Emperor Shin said coldly, I can be resurrected immediately. Do you think you still have a chance to find the teleportation array? Yun Chujio shrugged her shoulders. Old bastard, then just wait for your resurrection. What do you mean? Emperor Shin had an ominous premonition in his heart. Isn't the literal meaning that you're smart? Slowly understand it yourself. Yun Chujio said indifferently. The ominous premonition in Emperor Shin's heart was even greater. He asked in a slightly flustered manner, You didn't feed the poison to D. Biming? Impossible. I personally saw you feed the medicinal liquid in the porcelain bottle to him. Yun Chujio completely ignored him. Instead, she sized up the Grand Hall's layout. The Grand Hall's layout was very luxurious. However, where was the teleportation array hidden? Yun Chujio said to Lan Luofeng and the others, That old bastard's divine power has almost been used up. There's no need to be afraid of him. Everyone look for it. This teleportation array is definitely in this grand hall. Lan Luofeng and the others were already dumbfounded. They felt that their brains were no longer sufficient. What ghost ancestor, Di Baiming, the celestial race, Chi-Chi, what kind of nonsense was this? Lan Luofeng asked weakly, Little Jiao, will that Emperor Shen really not do anything to us? Don't worry. I didn't see his figure getting fainter and fainter. If he still had the ability, he would have long subdued us. He's just a paper tiger, Yun Chujio said disdainfully. The reason why she had been dealing with him for so long was firstly to get information from him. Secondly, she wanted to confirm her judgment. From the looks of it, he was already at the end of his rope and had no other means. Seeing that he had no signs of revival, Emperor Shen then heard Yun Chujio's words and shouted in panic, Yun Chujio, are you lying to me? How did you do it? Yun Chujio curled the corner of her lips. Guess. Chapter 5073. Are you really that stupid? Emperor Shen was so angry that he nearly vomited blood. If he could guess it, why would he ask her? Yun Chujio ignored him and treated him as a decoration. Emperor Shen was so angry that he could not care about his dignity anymore. He was unwilling to accept this. He had used almost all of his remaining divine power to set up such a trap. In the end, he did not even know how he failed. One could imagine how aggrieved he was. Yun Chujio, tell me, what did you do? I watched you pour poison into Di Baiming, but why is he still alive? Yun Chujio originally did not want to bother with him, but she recalled that Di Baiming had once told her that he would not die. Then, the question was, why was the Emperor Shen so sure that the gigolo would die if he drank the poison? Could it be that someone had misled him? Yun Chujio thought of this and sighed. Emperor Shen, I did feed him the poison you gave me, but I don't know why he did not die. I feel that there is something wrong with your poison. After all, the gigolo is the reincarnation of Xingzun. Normal poison would not be able to kill him. The Emperor Shen was stunned before he shook his head. Impossible. As long as he drinks the poison, he will die. I can be revived. The celestial race can prosper. Why are you so sure? Where did that poison come from? Yun Chujio asked. Emperor Shen was in a daze. Where did the poison come from? That's right, how did I get this medicine? Emperor Shen suddenly covered his head and said repeatedly, as long as he drinks that poison, he will die. I will be able to revive. The celestial race will prosper. As long as he drinks the poison, he will die. I will be able to revive. The celestial race will prosper. Yun Chujio was speechless. Was this Emperor Shen crazy? Her expression suddenly turned cold. She remembered that Yen Feng and the others had left a mark on their spiritual senses. This Emperor Shen was probably the same. Could it be that this was a trap? In fact, Emperor Shen was just someone's chess piece? Yun Chujio's first thought was the Divine Devil Hall. Who was the master of this Divine Devil Hall? To think that even Emperor Shen could be toyed with? Fortunately, the porcelain bottle that Emperor Shen had given her looked almost the same as the ancient green jade bottle in her storage ring. Only then did she take the opportunity to switch the porcelain bottle. As she was holding the porcelain bottle with her hand and using her sleeve to cover it, Emperor Shen did not see any flaws. Yun Chujio did not have the time to think about it. It was better to find the exit first. Otherwise, the person behind it might have other tricks up his sleeve. At this moment, Lan Luofeng and the rest had already rummaged through the hall for a while, but they did not find anything. Yun Chujio's gaze landed on the dragon throne where Emperor Shen was sitting. Hence, she walked towards Emperor Shen. When Emperor Shen saw Yun Chujio walking over, his scattered gaze turned fierce. It's all because of you. If it wasn't for you, I would have been able to revive and the celestial race would have prospered. I want to kill you. Yun Chujio sneered. Emperor Shen, don't you understand that you have been used by others? You are truly pathetic. Not only did you destroy the celestial race, you even ended up becoming a pawn of your enemy. You are spouting nonsense. I don't understand what you are saying. You deserve to die. Emperor Shen said with a ferocious expression. I am spouting nonsense? Don't you think about it? You have been dead for tens of thousands of years. Why do you only have such a thought now? Let's not talk about other things. Where did the poison come from? Who told you about Chi-Chi? No matter what, the celestial race was once an expert in this world and had supreme glory. As the Emperor Shin, are you really so stupid? Chapter 5074 The Ghost Ancestor was indeed the ghost ancestor. Under the intense gaze of Yun Chujio, the Emperor Shin could not help but be stunned when he heard what she said. Even if he was just a wisp of divine sense, even if there was something wrong with his divine sense as the former Emperor Shin, he knew that what Yun Chujio said was the truth. He had been used by someone. What was laughable was that he was muddle-headed and did not know who had used him. It was as though the thought of killing Di Biming will bring him back to life, and the celestial race will prosper, came naturally. The poison also appeared out of thin air. When Yun Chujio saw that he had regained his calmness, she said, Emperor Shin, you should know that even if you kill Di Biming, you will not come back to life. The celestial race will not return to their former prosperity. All of this is just a scam. Furthermore, if I'm not wrong, the stray beasts on the streets and floating layers should be formed from the remnant consciousness of the Celestials. The Celestials of the past have turned into ugly and ferocious stray beasts. It's really a pity. Therefore, even if the so-called resurrection is true, those Celestials who are resurrected will not be the Celestials but a bunch of monsters. Since there was still a remnant of the divine consciousness left behind by Emperor Shin, the other Celestials should also have a remnant of the divine consciousness. However, other than Yen Feng, Yun Chujio did not meet any of them. Furthermore, there were no corpses after the beasts died. Only the Wan Zhu, which could calm the mind, was left behind. That was why there was such a guess. Confusion, shock, and anger flashed across Emperor Shin's face one after another. His figure became even fainter as he said sorrowfully, Qiong Huang, am an honorable Emperor Shin. Not only was the celestial race exterminated by my hands, but I was even toyed with by others in the end. I have let down the ancestors of the celestial race. I deserve to die. Yun Chujio thought to herself, deserve to die. You cannot be any more dead, all right? After a long while, Emperor Shin said, the ghost ancestor is indeed the ghost ancestor. I admit defeat. Hey, Shinjio sighed. What do you mean, we are not at a disadvantage? We have all been played by others. It's only a matter of time. The Emperor Shin said with a bitter smile, no. Although we were fooled as well, at least you were able to wake up in time. I, on the other hand, refuse to do so. The Emperor Shin paused for a moment before he said, my spiritual perception has been tampered with. There are many things that I cannot say even if I have thoughts in my heart. However, there is one thing that you should know. The person behind the scenes wants Di Biming dead. Yun Chujio nodded. This point was right. The poor gigolo was being chased by people all day long. Furthermore, he had to endure the pain of the cold poison. She did not know which bastard wanted to kill him. When Emperor Shin saw Yun Chujio nod, he continued, the person behind the scenes clearly has terrifying strength. Even someone as strong as my celestial race has suffered the calamity of extermination. Yun Chujio gritted her teeth and said, you know about the Divine Devil Hall, right? I think that the person behind this should be that dogshit master of the Divine Devil Hall. It's just that I haven't been able to find his lair. Otherwise, I would have to think of a way to kill him. The Emperor Shin seemed to want to say something, but because his divine sense had been imprinted, he could not say anything. After all, the Emperor Shin was the Emperor Shin. Even though he was only a remnant of his consciousness, he still thought of a way to bypass the divine sense imprint. Hence, he said, your seal hasn't been unsealed and the world doesn't know about some things. I'll tell you some things that I know. I believe that with your intelligence, you'll definitely gain something in the future. Although the era we're in is called the Ancient Era, it's actually the last generation of the Ancient Era. Chapter 5075 was getting more and more interesting. Yun Chujio's eyes flashed. Meng Yanshou had previously told her about the first generation of the Ancient Era, the middle generation of the Ancient Era, and the last generation of the Ancient Era. However, its knowledge was limited and its words were very vague. Could it be that there was some big secret behind this? Emperor Shen continued, when the Hun was first created, there was only one continent in this world. It was called the Great Wilderness. At that time, there were no races like gods and demons. There were only some mysterious species that had gone extinct. As it was a long time ago, no one knew what exactly existed at that time. At this moment, Emperor Shen's figure became fainter. Hence, he heaved a sigh of relief before continuing. After the Great Wilderness, an unknown change happened. The continent was split into two. This was the Mesozoic era. Tens of thousands of years later, the two continents suddenly began to break apart, turning into several continents with different levels of spiritual power. This is the last generation. Then came the war between the gods and demons. After the celestial race and the demon race demarcated their territories, they lived peacefully for tens of thousands of years. Then, the celestial race was destroyed. At this point, Emperor Shen's expression became extremely pained. He wanted to say something, but because of the mark in his spiritual sense, he didn't say anything in the end. Seeing this, Yun Chujio hurriedly asked, I roughly know what happened after that. There's no need for you to say anything else. Is this what you want to tell me? Emperor Shen slowly said, in the various records, there's nothing about the ancient and Mesozoic era. In fact, our celestial race has a small amount of records regarding this. Yun Chujio's eyes widened. She had a vague feeling that she was about to discover a huge secret. Emperor Shen was about to say something when he let out a miserable cry. It turned out that although he had thought of a way to bypass the spiritual perception mark, he had still triggered the spiritual perception mark. He said with difficulty, I have triggered the spiritual perception mark. It will disappear completely soon. The teleportation array is under the dragon throne. You only need to put in the God Spirit Pearl to activate it. In addition, I have another request. Yun Chi. Before Emperor Shen could speak, his figure completely disappeared and turned into nothingness. Yun Chujio was speechless. This half-sentence was the most deceitful. What exactly did he want to say about Yun Chi? At this moment, the palace trembled violently, and everyone couldn't help but panic. Yun Chujio didn't dare to be negligent. She quickly ordered everyone to move the dragon chair away. As expected, an array disc was found under the dragon chair. However, what the hell was the god's spiritual pearl? Lan Luofeng said, Little Jiao, didn't we find 2 beads in the ruins of the stairs? That should be the god's spiritual pearl. Yun Chujio laughed bitterly. Her mind was in a mess now. She was really smart for a moment, but she actually forgot about this. Yun Chujio immediately took out one of the beads and placed it in the array plate. Immediately, a barrier with spirit energy ripples appeared in front of everyone. Everyone was overjoyed and quickly walked in. A blinding light flashed, and Yun Chujio and the others disappeared from where they were. After Yun Chujio and the others disappeared, a miniature Gowei Batsao jumped out from a corner. Gowei Bakeo's color was already very dim. When it entered the palace, it was originally on Yun Chujio's hair. However, when the Emperor Shen used the Dreamland technique, the Gowei Batsao was sent flying by the Emperor Shen's divine power. After all, this fellow was only a small treasury of Guai Chao. Therefore, he did not dare to overestimate himself by jumping forward. He only hid in a corner and watched. As time passed, it had almost dissipated. Therefore, it did not move closer to Yun Chujio to avoid being discovered. It recalled what the Emperor Shen had said. The leaves trembled. Things were getting more and more interesting. Chapter 5076. Our Lan family is number 1. Yun Chujio knew nothing about Gowei Bakeo's secret stash. At this moment, she, Lan Luofeng, and the others had already been teleported outside. They had thought that 10 days had passed since the end of the trial and that the people from the 4 great families had already left. They had not expected that everyone was still here. When the people from the 4 great clans saw Yun Chujio and the others who had suddenly appeared, their faces were filled with astonishment. Weren't these people already dead? Why had they suddenly appeared? Moreover, The divine relic trial had already ended and the barrier had long been closed. How did they get out? Lan Dimeo was extremely happy. He had thought that the entire Lan family had been wiped out this time. He had not expected that they would all come out alive. This was great. A hint of joy appeared on old Tua's cold and hard face. He knew that the troublemaker would not die so easily. Lan Luohan and Lan Luoshan had a complicated look on their faces. There was panic, fear, and a hint of disbelief. Although Lan Dimeo was very curious, he was not stupid. Naturally, he would not ask anything in front of everyone. He only asked a few perfunctory questions. Great uncle, I remember that the 4 families need to have a competition, right? I wonder where our Lan family is ranked this time? Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and asked. Lan Dimeo looked a little dejected. Each of the 3 families got 4 pearls of delusion, while Luo Han and Luo Shan only got 1 pearl of delusion. However, this is not a big deal. As long as you guys come out safely. Other than slaughtering some wild beasts on the flat streets, Mu Zian and the others relied on sacrificing the lives of their companions to advance in the levitation layer. Therefore, there were not many wild pearls. Aya, what a coincidence! I still have 4 wild pearls here. Doesn't that mean that our Lan family is number 1? Hei Shinjio took out 4 wild pearls with a smile. Lan Dimeo was both surprised and happy. He had been ridiculed by the other 3 families many times in the past few days. Now, he could finally be proud. The people from the other 3 families were shocked when they saw this. Chi Tianhui snorted and said, Yun Chujio, 2 of the pearls were killed by the 4 families together. They are not yours. Yun Chujio shrugged. According to you, Lan Luoshan and Lan Luohan are also part of your pearls. Why didn't you share them with the Lan family? You're not strong enough yet you're still acting shamelessly. Do you still have any shame? Chi Tianhui was so humiliated that he turned into anger. Bitch. You're courting death. TSKSK, you're so unreasonable that you scold people. Is that all you've got? I won't lower myself to your level. Anyway, the first place goes to our Lan family. It's useless even if you scold Patian, Yun Chujio said with a smile. This guy did not forget the blue ancestor's words. She not only to Lan Luofang and others out safely, but also to get the first place in order to complete the mission. Chi Anqing saw that Chi Tianhui was annoyed by Yun Chujio, and his face instantly darkened. Just as he was about to make a move, Zhuang Ruhai, who was at the side, lowered his voice and said, Brother Chi, the ranking of the divine relic trial does not involve the division of interests. It is just a matter of ranking. Let him be. Chi Anqing's face was vicious. Brother Zhuang, we have 3 times more people than them. Why don't we just kill them? Zhuang Ruhai shook his head. That hunchback's strength is unfathomable. Do not act rashly. There is still time in the future. Sooner or later, the Lan family will belong to us. Chi Anqing snorted unwillingly. Forget it. Let them play around for a few days. I don't know when this damn Earth Dragon reversal will end. I have really stayed in this damn place enough. Chapter 5077 was too embarrassing. The reason why the members of the 4 great families had been staying here was because the Earth Dragons were frequently turning over in the Bailuo mountain range hundreds of miles away from Baili. The Bailuo mountain range was the place they had to pass before they could leave. In addition, it was forbidden to fly there, so they could only wait for the Earth Dragons to turn over and calm down before they could leave. Yun Chujio also learned about this matter from Lan Dimeo. She didn't care about it. It was the same no matter where they were. Lan Luoyan saw Lan Luoshan and Lan Luohan gnashing their teeth in anger. She wished she could go up and strangle them. However, she was now habitually obedient to Yun Chujio's words. Seeing that Yun Chujio didn't say anything, she didn't dare to say anything. Yun Chujio was looking for an opportunity to say something to Lan Luoyan and the others when she felt the small silver snake in her sleeve wake up. She was overjoyed and couldn't wait to check on the little silver snake's condition. Thus, she glanced at Lan Luofang and the others, warning them not to act rashly. Then she ran behind a small mound in the distance. To be safe, she opened the isolation array and took out the little silver snake from her sleeve. Although the small silver snake had woken up, it did not seem to be in a good condition. Yun Chujio asked worriedly, "Prince Charming, are you all right? Why did you faint previously?" "It doesn't matter. Tell me what exactly happened?" the small silver snake said. Yun Chujio told her everything and then said, "That old thing, Emperor Shin, said half a sentence. I don't know what secret the ancient Mesozoic era has. I always feel that it's a huge secret. Also, what does the matter he begged me have to do with Yun Chi?" As the small silver snake had lost its memory, it did not know much about Yun Chi, so it asked about Yun Chi. Yun Chujio could only recount the events of her previous life, and then she said, "That Yen Feng said that I'm an extraterrestrial soul, so it makes some sense. However, wasn't I the ghost ancestor in my previous life? This can't be considered an extraterrestrial soul, right?" The small silver snake did not understand Yen Feng's intention for a moment. Perhaps it was an oversight. Just as he was thinking, Yun Chujio slapped her thigh. "Oh right, I have to send a sound transmission talisman to Wu Jis head first to ask him about Chi Chi. This Wu Jis head is really powerful. He actually hid it from me for such a long time." The small silver snake stopped her. "It's not too late to ask when we meet. Besides, how are you going to explain the matter between you and Yun Chi?" Yun Chujio was stunned. This matter was really a little complicated. She could not explain it clearly in just a few sentences. Forget it. In any case, this matter was most likely true, so it would not take too long. Therefore, she gave up the idea of sending a voice transmission talisman to Shui Wuji. This fellow sighed. "Even the head of the black chicken and the son of Chi Chi can be a bystander. How are we doing? We didn't even get out of bed. It's too embarrassing." Due to his amnesia, he didn't know that Yun Chujio didn't come to Kueishui because of Guai Chao. He was puzzled. Was he an idiot before he lost his memory? Why didn't he have sex with the ugly girl? He didn't want to have sex with the ugly girl. He was just curious. Yes, that was it. Yun Chujio saw the small silver snake turn a faint pink. She asked fiercely, "What unhealthy thing are you thinking about? You pervert." The small silver snake. She was the one who brought up the idea of having sex first, all right? Why was it his fault? Chapter 5078, Meng Yenshohei Shinjio suddenly remembered that she was the one who brought up the matter first. Therefore, Wan Yen's thick-skinned face felt a little hot. The guy stuffed the silver snake into his sleeve and grumbled, "I'm too lazy to talk to a pervert like you." The silver snake gritted its teeth secretly. He would deal with this ugly girl after his body recovered. When the time came, he would definitely let her know what a husband's class was. Yun Chujio put away the isolation disc and waved at Lan Luofeng and the others. Lan Luofeng and the others had been staring at her. When they saw her waving, they quickly ran over. When she saw Yun Chujio open the isolation disc, Lan Luoyen gritted her teeth and said, "Captain, why did you stop me from getting even with those two bastards?" Yun Chujio smiled lightly and said, "Do you think that if you say it, the third elder will believe your words or Lan Luoshan and Lan Luohan's words?" Lan Luoyen was stunned. Lan Luohan was Lan Dimeo's favorite junior. In addition, she was a member of the Big Branch, so Lan Dimeo would naturally not speak to her. Then, are we just going to let this matter go? Are we letting the two of them off? Lan Luoyen said unwillingly. Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes and said, "It's not that simple. Think about it. The Mu family can't wait to kill the Lan family. Why did Lan Luohan and Lan Luohan come out safely?" Lan Lumis' mind was more flexible than the others. He said uncertainly, "You mean, the two of them are in collusion with the other three families? Could it be that third elder has a different intention?" Yun Chujio shook her head. "Third elder is not that muddle-headed. I think this has something to do with Zhuang Shi's family. Don't alert the enemy first. When you go back, start the investigation. Remember this sentence, cut the weeds and get rid of the roots. Otherwise, you will only alert the enemy." Lan Luomu and the others nodded. After this experience, their disdain and contempt for Yun Chujio had been replaced by reverence. They believed her words without a doubt. Yun Chujio took out a porcelain bottle. Didn't you take the poison pill of Elder Tua? This is the antidote. Take it. Everyone believed her words and immediately swallowed it. Then, they fainted. Yun Chujio released the Mengyensho and asked it to erase everything that happened after they reached the 4th level of the levitation layer. She changed it to say that they had accidentally found a teleportation array on the 4th level of the levitation layer and were able to escape. A moment later, the Mengyensho said weakly, "This time, I used too much of my spiritual power. I need to take a good rest. Well, if you have time, buy me some new storybooks. I'm tired of the old ones." The corner of Yun Chujio's eyes twitched. She agreed and put Mengyensho into her spiritual beast bag. After a while, Lan Luomu and the others woke up one after another. Yun Chujio explained that the reason they fainted was because of the effect of the antidote. No one doubted it. After returning to the base, Lan Dimeo found an opportunity to ask them about what happened, and Yun Chujio told them about the modified version. Lan Dimeo saw that they said the same thing, so he didn't ask any more questions. It was good that they could come back safely. Yun Chujio met Elder Tua alone again and asked with a smile, "Elder Tua, did Lan Luoshan and Lan Luohan ask you for the antidote?" Elder Tua nodded. "I did as you said and gave them 2 pills as the antidote. They believed me." Previously, when Yun Chujio told Elder Tua about this, Elder Tua was not going to pay attention to her. But this guy used a piece of jade glass Bodhi leaf as a reward, so Elder Tua agreed. Chapter 5079. You are actually very good. Before Yun Chujio entered the land of God relics, she had already told Elder Tua everything that might have happened. Therefore, when Lan Luoshan and Lan Luohan went to ask Elder Tua for the antidote, he had casually given them 2 pills to fool them. Yun Chujio told Elder Tua about her guess. After all, she was alone now, so there was no way for her to find out about Zhuang Shi's maiden family. Elder Tua's expression changed when he heard this. If this was true, then they had to get rid of the root of the problem as soon as possible. Unfortunately, due to the Earth Dragon's reversal, the voice transmission talisman could not be sent successfully. Otherwise, we could have asked the Patriarch to investigate thoroughly, Elder Tua sighed. Yun Chujio was stunned. It seemed that even if she wanted to ask Shui Wuji about Chi-Chi now, there was no way for her to ask. Elder Tua thought that she was worried about Zhuang Shi when he saw that she was stunned. He said, "I can't stir up any trouble for the time being. You don't have to worry." Hei Shinjio saw that Elder Tua had misunderstood and immediately put on a sympathetic look. As a member of the Land family, I naturally have to do my best to plan for the Land family. I can't let my guard down even if it's just a tiny bit of trouble. Elder Tua could not help but nod. Although the troublemaker was usually unfocused, he was still quite reliable at critical moments. After gaining a favorable impression, Hei Shinjio asked, "Elder Tua, can't we go around somewhere else? Do we have to stay here until the Earth Dragon turns over?" Elder Tua took out a map from his storage ring and showed it to Yun Chujio. The Biluo mountain range is thousands of kilometers long. It's the only way back. If you want to go around it, not only will it take more time, but you'll also have to go through the 10,000-year-old swamp and the blood curse miasma forest. It's almost certain that you'll die, so you can only wait for the Earth Dragon to turn over. Yun Chujio nodded. Although cultivators were much stronger than ordinary people, they were most afraid of the swamp. In the swamp, even special ships would sometimes fall into the swamp, so they tried their best to avoid the swamp. Since they could only wait, they could only wait. However, half a month passed after that. Hei Shinjio and Di Baiming mumbled, "Prince Charming, why do I feel that there will be natural disasters wherever I go? For example, the sandstorm of death in the ghost city of Tao Tai, the tide on the Flying Flower Island, and the Earth Dragon's reversal this time. Is this damn god deliberately going against me?" Seeing that Di Baiming did not say anything, Yun Chujio finally realized that this was an amnesiac snake. This guy could only tell her about the death sandstorm and the tens of thousands of feet tide inside. You said that it was a coincidence once or twice, but it's always the same. Then there's a problem. Am I really so unpopular with God? Seeing her like this, A certain honored warrior comforted her. You're thinking too much. It might not be the case. Besides, you can always turn the situation around. This time, you can definitely do it too. I believe in you. Yun Chujio said with tears in her eyes, do you really believe in me? I feel that I'm useless and useless. I can't do anything and I can't eat enough. My existence is just a joke. Seeing her like this, Di Baiming felt his heart ache. He hurriedly said, don't belittle yourself. Other things aside, if it wasn't for you, the Lan family would have already died in Supreme City. Furthermore, the fact that you were able to resolve Emperor Shin's scheme is enough to prove your intelligence. Therefore, you are actually very, very good. Yun Chujio raised her head in surprise. Is what you said true? Do you really think that I am very good? Yes, of course it's true. Di Baiming said with certainty. Chapter 5080, Hell on Earth. Yun Chujio pursed her lips. You're lying. If you really think so, why did you call me ugly girl? I'm just forget it. I won't call you ugly girl anymore. You're actually quite good looking, a certain someone said uncomfortably. That's right, I also think I'm quite good looking. You're finally not blind. Yun Chujio said with a smile. A certain someone. He looked at Hei Shinjio, who was smiling with a smug look, and gritted his teeth in anger. He had been fooled by this ugly girl again. Hei Shinjio looked at the silver snake's vertical pupils that were filled with anger, and her smile became even happier. I told you to lose your memory. I told you to get the hell out of here. I even told you to return the money and interest. You wife-slave, do you still want to overturn the heavens? Dream on. However, she really felt that God was deliberately going against her. Otherwise, why did she always run into natural disasters that happened once every 100 years or even thousands of years? How could there be such a coincidence? Just as she was thinking about it, chaos broke out in the distance. Not good. The Earth Dragon has turned over. Quickly summon the Flying Spirit Tool. What's going on? Why can't the flying spiritual weapon fly? The ground began to tremble. The earth chi in some of the cracks in the distance soared into the sky. Some of the people who were slower instantly turned into a bloody mist. Yun Chujio was shocked. She quickly put the small silver snake into her sleeve pocket and chased after them. Everyone looked panicked. Under such a natural disaster, anyone's strength was extremely small and their lives were extremely fragile. They could only run and run for their lives. Behind them, cracks appeared one after another. Those who ran slower were instantly swallowed by the earth chi. This place was already a hell on earth. Everyone ran toward the east. They thought that after running for a distance, they could use a flying spirit tool to escape. Who knew that not only could they not use a flying spirit tool, but the earth cracks were getting more and more serious. Everyone ran nonstop for a day and a night. In front of them was a dense forest that was as red as blood. Fortunately, at this time, the speed of the earth fissure behind them began to slow down, giving everyone a moment to catch their breath. Regardless of whether it was the elders of the 4 great aristocratic families or the juniors like Lan Luofeng, they all sat on the ground, panting heavily. It was too terrifying. They had never seen such a scene before. They had never been so close to death. Lan Luofeng cried, "Little Jiao, we are really going to die this time." Sob, I don't want to die yet. I miss my mother." Yun Chujio glared at her. "Hold back your tears. Is crying useful? If it is, I will howl with you. The earth fissure hasn't spread to this place yet. Let's hurry and enter the dense forest ahead." Lan Luofeng forcefully held back her tears and said, "Little Jiao, that is the blood curse miasma forest ahead. Not only is there a poisonous miasma, but it is said that this is a cursed forest. Very few people can pass through it alive." Yun Chujio had already guessed this point. After all, she had seen the map at Elder Tua's place. The blood curse miasma forest was no different from a peaceful land to her. But what about the people from the Lan family? Should she care about it or not? At this time, the leaders of the other 3 families gathered together. Mu Kelu said with a hint of pride, "Everyone, don't panic. Our Mu family is good at alchemy. Although we don't have full confidence, as long as we take our Mu family's unique antidote pill, we can at least resolve 70 to 80% of the poison miasma. Chapter 5081 The Mu family's detoxification pills. As soon as Mu Kela finished speaking, Qi Anqing of the Qi family and Zhuang Ruhai of the Zhuang family immediately complimented him. Brother Mu is right. The Mu family's alchemy skills are second to none in towering Sky Continent. The Mu family's detoxification pills are naturally unique. If we can detoxify 70 to 80% of the poisonous miasma, then even if we inhale a small amount of the miasma, we can use our spiritual power to suppress it. We can completely pass through this blood curse miasma forest safely. Mu Kelu was obviously very pleased. He smiled and said, "Our three families share weal and woe together. Naturally, we share weal and woe together. Come, these detoxifying pills, everyone distribute them." Qi Anqing and Zhuang Ruhai thanked him profusely. They immediately distributed the pills to their own juniors and guards. Everyone from the Lan family stared at Lan Dimeo and Elder Tuo. Lan Dimeo had no choice but to brace himself and come to see Mu Kelu. He cupped his hands and said, "Brother Mu, can you give the Lan family some detoxification pills?" Mu Kelu said with a fake smile, "I'm sorry. I have a limited number of detoxification pills with me, so I don't have any extra to give to the Lan family. I'm really sorry." Lan Dimeo naturally didn't believe him. He said shamelessly, "Brother Mu, the Lan family doesn't want them for nothing. As long as you give us a price, we'll buy them with money." Sigh. "Brother Dimeo, I can understand your feelings, but I really don't have that many detoxifying pills. Forgive me for being unable to do anything." Although Mu Kela's words were polite, his expression was very arrogant and proud. It was obvious that he had many detoxifying pills on him, but he did not want to give them to the Lan family. He would not sell them no matter how much money he had. Qi Anqing and Zhuang Ruhai also had a fake smile on their faces. It was really the help of God. This time, they did not need to make a move. The people of the Lan family were all going to be wiped out. They were certain that Lan Dimeo and the others wouldn't dare to rob them. After all, there was a huge difference in strength between the two sides. If the Lan family made a move, they would be courting death. The three families were all gloating, especially Qi Tianhui and the others. They gathered together and mocked. "Do you think you can buy anything just because you have money? How naive. The Mu family just won't sell. Some people are going to die of anger." "Tiske, I heard that people who are poisoned by the miasma are in great pain before they die. Their skin and flesh will fester inch by inch until they die. Yeah, I also heard that the antidotes sold in the world have no effect on the miasma at all. Moreover, they might even accelerate the poisoning. This blood curse miasma forest not only has the miasma but also the blood curse. The Lan family is dead for sure." Lan Dimeo's face was livid with anger, but he did not dare to shed all pretense of cordiality. He could only return to the Lan family's side in a huff. The Lan family's faces were also very ugly. Lan Luohan and Lan Luoshan looked at each other and finally gritted their teeth. The two of them actually walked directly to Zhuang Ruhai. Zhuang Ruhai first looked at Lan Dimeo with a sneer, then gave the two of them 2 detoxification pills and let them join the Zhuang family's team. Lan Dimeo could not believe his eyes. He was stunned for a moment and shouted, "Luohan, Luoshan, what are you doing?" Lan Luoshan said softly, "Grandfather, even ants are greedy for life. We have no choice. The Lan family currently has no way to protect us. We naturally have to rely on the more powerful Zhuang family. After all, our maternal family is also a member of the Zhuang family." Lan Dimeo was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He pointed at Lan Luoshan and Lan Luohan with a trembling finger. "Evil beast! Evil beast! Hurry up and get back here." Chapter 5082 is waiting for me to return. Lan Lushan's smile became even more gentle. "Grandfather, anger will hurt your body. Please calm down." Haven't you always been biased towards that bitch Yun Chujio? You will be able to die together with her soon, so it can be considered as fulfilling your wish. As for the 3 sons of the Lan family, you don't have to worry. Once you die, my father will become the leader of the 3 sons, and he will definitely be better than before. Lan Dimeo's head was buzzing with anger. If it was not for his profound cultivation, he would have fainted from anger. Zhuang Ruhai saw this and said with a fake smile, "That's right, brother Dimeo. A good bird chooses the tree to roost in." The 2 children were originally from the Zhuang family. What's wrong with joining our Zhuang family now? You should think about how your Lan family will pass through this blood curse miasma forest safely. Lan Dimeo was so angry that he could not utter a single word. All he could do was tremble. He never thought that his own grandson and granddaughter would do such a heartless thing. He had placed high hopes on Lan Luohan, but who would have thought that she was an ingrate? At this moment, Yun Chujio laughed lightly and said, "The Zhuang family is really good. They actually managed to incite Uncle's family without making a sound. From the looks of it, the Zhuang family is more scheming than the Mu family and the Qi family. I think that sooner or later, the power of the 4 great aristocratic families will fall into the hands of the Zhuang family." Lan Dimeo was already angry to begin with. When he heard Yun Chujio's words, he could not help but become even angrier. Wasn't this troublemaker trying to add salt to his wound? However, when he saw the slight change in Mu Kelu and Qi Encheng's expressions, his heart moved. He understood that Yun Chujio was trying to drive a wedge between the 3 families. However, it was also true. The Zhuang family's move was obviously carried out behind the other 2 families' backs. With the troublemaker's words, even if the 3 families maintained peace on the surface, it was only a matter of time before a dog-eat-dog fight broke out. Zhuang Ruhai also realized this and quickly said to Qi Anqing and Zhuang Ruhai, "Both of you, don't be incited by that darn girl's words. Since the matter hasn't been settled yet, our Zhuang family didn't greet the 2 of you." Although Mu Kelu and Mu Qi Anqing were displeased, the 3 families were now in the same boat, so they could only make a few perfunctory remarks. Zhuang Ruhai quickly changed the topic. "Both of you, if we delay, something will happen. The earth fissure will soon spread over. Why don't we enter the blood curse miasma forest now?" Mu Kelu and Qi Anqing nodded and immediately led their subordinates into the blood curse miasma forest. Before entering, Mu Kelu and the others even said provocatively to Lan Dimeo, "Brother Dimeo, take care. I hope we can meet again." Lan Dimeo was half dead from anger, but there was nothing he could do. The members of the Lan family, whether it was Lan Luofang and the others or the guards, all hung their heads dejectedly. It was over. They were dead for sure. Even if they were not swallowed by the earth Qi, they would still be poisoned to death. There was no way for them to survive. Old Tua's expression was also very cold. His cultivation was profound, so he might be able to use his spiritual power to suppress the poisonous miasma, but what about the others? At this moment, Yun Chujio quickly jumped into the blood curse miasma forest. "Wait for me to come back." Everyone was dumbfounded. What did she mean? Was she going to die? Could she come back? However, a glimmer of hope rose in the hearts of Lan Luofang and the others. In the Supreme City, little Jiao had brought them to escape death time and time again. Perhaps this time she could also do it. Time became exceptionally long. The ground began to tremble slightly. It was likely that in less than 2 hours, the cracks would spread to this place. Lan Dimeo gritted his teeth. Just as he was about to order everyone to forcefully enter the blood curse miasma forest, Yun Chujio hopped back. Chapter 5083. I will refine pills for you now. When everyone saw that Yun Chujio had returned safely, they could not help but feel a little hopeful. She had not been poisoned to death by the poisonous miasma. Did this mean that she had an antidote? Did this mean that they were saved? Little Jiao, do you have an antidote? Lan Dimeo asked with a slight tremble. Yun Chujio nodded. Yes. Lan Dimeo almost cried when he heard that. He hurriedly said, God bless. God bless. Little ninth girl, since that's the case, hurry up and distribute the pills to everyone. You've made a great contribution this time. Uncle will not mistreat you. Yun Chujio took out the pill furnace and said, Uncle, I only have one antidote. I ate it myself just now. I'll refine it for you now. Don't be anxious. Lan Dimeo almost died from anger. Refine it now? Was this troublemaker playing with them? If this antidote pill was really so easy to refine, would there be no sale in the world? Would the Mu family be so arrogant? Moreover, even if this troublemaker really knew how to refine the antidote pill, where would she get so many herbs in such a short time? Moreover, there was no time. The higher the grade of the pill, the longer the refining time needed. It would take at least an hour to refine a batch of pills. Under the premise that the pill success rate was 60%, there were 6 pills in a batch, and only 12 pills in 2 batches. Moreover, the Lan family and the guards had a total of 400 people. No matter what, it was not enough. Lan Dimeo was panting heavily. Yun Chujio, now is not the time to joke. Tell me the truth. Do you still have any detoxification pills on you? Yun Chujio said while she was busy, No, don't worry. I can refine pills very quickly. At most, everyone can divide a pill into 6 portions and hold on for a while. When we enter the forest, I will refine some more. When Yun Chujio said this, Lan Dimeo and the others wanted to strangle her to death. Divide a pill into 6 portions? Did you think that the pill was a big steamed bun? A single detoxification pill was only able to block 70 to 80% of the poisonous miasma. If it was divided into 6 portions, would it still be effective? Lan Dimeo saw Yun Chujio stuffing a bunch of herbs into the pill furnace one after another, and he felt that this troublemaker was playing tricks. Even if he wasn't an alchemist, he knew that there was a sequence for placing the herbs. Yet, she didn't care and just stuffed all the herbs into the alchemy furnace. This wasn't refining pills, this was making porridge. Lan Dimeo saw that the ground was trembling more violently and decided to lead everyone directly into the blood curse miasma forest. Although there was a poisonous miasma inside, it might not be as powerful as the legend said. However, after he said his decision, Lan Luofeng said weakly, Grandfather, I believe in little Gio. I'll stay and wait for her pills. Third elder, I also believe in little Gio. I'll stay too, Lan Luoyen said. And me. Me too. I'll stay too. Lan Dimeo looked at Lan Luoyen and the others and felt that these children were most likely crazy. Did they really believe that this troublemaker could refine an antidote? Elder Tuah sighed at the side. I also believe in little Gio. Let's wait a little longer. Lan Dimeo, a bunch of lunatics. He had no choice. Everyone was willing to believe in Yun Chujio, so he could only compromise. He wanted to see if this troublemaker could refine a detoxifying pill that was divided into 6 parts. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.